What is fascinating is how much the images you see, we've discussed it plenty of times before on the show, the images where you see of starving children, one of which, by the way, wasn't even in Gaza, one of the most famous ones, but the 5 images most used of children starving as a result of Israel genocide are actually children who've got other long-standing problems, known by the journalists taking the pictures, known often, they've often got a perfectly healthy-looking mum with them. What a surprise. We've also had Bild, you might be seeing on our screen right now, showing a photograph of a Gaza photographer staging Hamas propaganda. There are plenty more photos they've got in that report in Bild, the German newspaper or magazine, basically staging these pictures. There's other video footage of these photographs, these images being staged, people being told, this is how you stand, this is the angle, you can actually see the video footage of it happening. We are being played on a daily basis. I'm sure there are people who are suffering horribly in Gaza. There will be people who are hungry, who need the help. They definitely need humanitarian aid. They should let more aid in, all of that. However, if it was such a big, genuine issue, you wouldn't have to stage pictures, would you? I mean, again, journalists saying we don't want journalists attacked. We don't want journalists attacked. But journalists who have who've done selfies with, Yahya Sinwar and who have celebrated October the 7th aren't journalists. They are Hamas propagandists. And in this case, one, we're told, is a Hamas terrorist.
Reporting on war situations is phenomenally hard and incredibly dangerous. War reporters are heroes. I have known reporters who have been killed reporting on, in that case, the Ukraine war. It is phenomenally difficult because it is so dangerous to get in there and so difficult. However, what Hamas have done, what they have learned to do is to exploit that by selecting, appointing, recruiting, developing a network of Hamas individuals who pretend, cosplay as journalists. They are there to push out propaganda and to brand it as journalism. Newspapers and organisations that buy those reports, that help to fund it, are, in my opinion, an insult to journalists, because what they are doing is they are allowing propaganda to be badged up as journalism.
And they don't say, when they do those reports, they don't say, this footage has only been made available to us because Hamas has approved it, which is what they should say.
And all you need to know is when one of the Israeli hostages was rescued from a luxury development in northern Gaza, in whose house was she found? Oh yes, a senior Al Jazeera executive. The same organisation that always happened to get out Osama bin Laden's videos. They were always released via Al Jazeera back in the day. People will remember.
Well, that was the biggest Middle Eastern
based in Qatar, just like Hamas.
But again, also when we saw those horrific staged hostage releases, and then you'd see the women having to give speeches or posing, there would be a journalist, I suppose Al Jazeera, they were only Al Jazeera journalists with press written on them, and they would be going, no, do this. They would be directing what was happening as journalists. Sorry, if I'm a journalist covering something political, I'm not telling the politicians or whatever where to stand or what to do. I mean, they were directing things. It's just blatant. And anyone who's just watching mainstream media now is being sold a blatant lie. Genuinely, I am so appalled. I do actually often message journalists I know personally to say, like, but you know that what you've just done is a lie. And these are experienced war reporters, a lot of them, and experienced foreign correspondents, and they are perpetrating this lie. And again, you can be as critical as you want of Israel. You can completely disagree with what Netanyahu's doing. Lots of Israelis also disagree with Netanyahu's policy. Apparently, the IDF leadership disagrees with what Netanyahu wants to do in terms of occupying Gaza. But again, I don't know how he can occupy Gaza. I thought he already occupied Gaza. That's what we were told for the last 20 years, even though Israeli troops weren't anywhere near Gaza. But it is, you can do all that, that's fine. But when you constantly make claims, the Israeli government in reports always claim things. Hamas official figures are given as official figures. You don't have to believe anything the Israeli government says, but I think perhaps if you're not going to believe a democratic elected government that is held to account by its own people, I'm pretty sure you definitely shouldn't accept a single thing that Hamas says, ever, at all, on anything.
And there is this argument that, Benjamin Netanyahu is just continuing the war because he needs it in order to stay in power.
Doesn't hurt him doing that, though.
Well, yeah, but hang on, Julia. And the same isn't so for Hamas. Yeah. The same isn't so for this organisation that's got rich of ripping off 2 million people by convincing them every day that they're facing this great existential war, and that's why you need to keep us in, never hold elections, never have a choice about whether this fantastic part of the world that could, as Donald Trump say, be a brilliant, for example, luxury resort on the Mediterranean, should instead keep going down this line of terrorist attacks, of going and kidnapping and raping people.
Well, that's what's very interesting, isn't it? The Arab states in the last few days, actually basically saying, we Hamas, lay down your weapons.
Oh, because, Julia, they see through them. They see through...
Well, that's why they don't want any of the Palestinians as refugees in their countries.
They know exactly who they're dealing with, and they want them as far away as possible.
They're bad for business.
Never forget, Hamas shares a border with Egypt too. If the Arab world, if the Muslim world was that concerned about what was going on, and these people were living in such dreadful situations, they could get every single one of them out tomorrow.
Or get any bit of aid in they wanted tomorrow.
Any bit of aid in. They know that they are dealing with some of the most dangerous, some of the most despicable,
radicalised,
some of the most evil people on the planet that are running Gaza currently, and they want to keep them locked away, as far away as possible as they possibly can from their countries.
Yeah, and that's the reality, isn't it? Look, I also just want to talk about small boat migrants. The number of small boat migrants to reach Britain under the Labour government is set to hit 50,000 this year. 435 arrived on Saturday alone. Lovely weather. We've got an amber heat alert. More migrants today. I mean, that's kind of the recipe, isn't it? Also, we found out this weekend ministers have lost track of 150,000 migrants. These aren't small boat migrants, just people who overstayed their visas, just don't know where they are. And then we've also got local councils claiming that whole streets are now being offered for use by migrants. So new housing developments, desperately needed by local people, just basically being handed over, obviously at great extra cost, great extra payments being paid to the government, well, usually it's like the Sercos and others who are buying them up on behalf of the Home Office to house migrants. I mean, sorry, this is just not going to work. We've got Kemi Badenoch right now. She's in Epping, where, of course, the Bell Hotel. We've seen those protests against asylum hotels. We've got them, at Britannia. We've got them at the Thistle, as well as the Barbican in London, and across the country. People are saying enough is enough. Ordinary men, women, and children. And the idea is they want to get everyone out of the hotels, but they want to put them in homes. That's not the solution to the problem that we want. They need to be in internment camps and then sent back home. That's what they need to be. Life needs to be perfectly civilised, humane, but not very nice for people who've come here illegally. End of.
But Julia, this can't be right. Keir Starmer was going to smash the gangs.
Sorry,
any day now. We've had some press releases every Monday for the last few weeks. The migration problem is getting solved. No. And all the while this carries on, politicians are just delaying the inevitable. And the inevitable is really clear. We have to immediately, tomorrow, disapply the human rights regime to every single person that breaks into this country illegally. If you break into this country illegally, you have given up. If you break the law, you do not enjoy its protection.
We're not going to torture you. You just have none of the normal rights. But I want to go further. That doesn't touch. I want to deal with the people who, like this 150,000,
Julia, deport them all.
No, exactly. But I don't care if someone's been living here 20 years.
No,
you're not
gone.
My priority to be deported. But if you're not in this country legally,
yes,
you don't get to stay.
Yes,
I don't understand why anyone queries that. Now, Nigel Farage queries that.
Not just the men, the women, the children too. If you have broken into this country, if you have overstayed a visa, you are a criminal on the run from the law.
Got no right
you
to
ought
be
to
here.
Be chased down to the fullest extent possible.
We will prioritise. I will prioritise the people committing crimes.
Of course.
What about we've got this deportation? We're told of foreign criminals before they can appeal their sentence, but it's only for 23 countries. It doesn't include, the likes of Afghanistan or Iran or Eritrea, Syria or Sudan. Those are the countries which make up 70% of those who come as channel boat migrants. And also, by the way, the people who are coming from countries where their attitude towards women and girls is not in the modern age. It ain't 1950. It's 1250.
But Julia, in the 1250s in this country, people did not believe what some of these people who have come into our country believe they can do to women was acceptable. We have never had it in this country that you can organise yourself around to drive young girls, 12-year-old girls at a time, pick them up in your taxis, take them to your takeaway shops, take them upstairs and rape them.
In my lifetime, it's been legal to rape your wife.
After another. And the leaders of those grooming gangs are still walking the very same streets that the girls that were subjected to that live in and continue to do in this community, live in their own communities. We cannot even deport them. It is offensive. It is offensive for our government to claim it is deporting foreign criminals when the leaders of grooming gangs are still living in the same houses,
they
same
basically tear up their Pakistani
so I'm not Pakistani anymore.
Yeah, you are. Yeah, I know. No, it's because I'm of the view we are into close the borders territory to some countries. Countries which have a higher rate of criminality,
yes.
I say we close up. You are not welcome in this country. Nothing to do with your ethnicity. No, we're just going on the stats. You're a bad bet for us. You're, in the same way as a nightclub will say, sorry, we're not letting in a group of 20 lads. You need to have women with you. Now they stop stag parties. They stop hen parties now because the women cause just as much trouble. That you're allowed to say, sorry, you know, your name's not on the door, you're not coming in. But no, we know we have trouble with groups like you, so you're not coming in. Well, why don't we do that on our borders? We know we have trouble with people from your country. Statistically, you've got a really bad record. Albanians, Pakistanis, you've got a bad record in this country. So unless we can have some really cast iron guarantees that you are not going to be a problem, then I'm afraid you're not coming in. I'm not quite sure why there's an issue with that. Well, but it's probably bigoted to say so.
For years, Julia, expressing that opinion, which is common sense, which is the understanding of the majority of people in this country, has basically been banned from our public discourse. To say that actually, do you know what, not all migrants are equal, that it is the chances are that a migrant from the United States of America is likely to be better for us than a migrant from
economically, crime-wise,
from Yemen, for example. It just is, as Kemi Badenoch said last year, and I think it was a big moment when she said this, not all cultures are equal. And the reality is, I have had enough of migration from a number of these countries where we know that, statistically speaking, as you say, they are likely to be overrepresented on every list I don't want and underrepresented on every list that I do want. And
higher rate taxpayers.
And a targeted migration system that works is not just going to be about, can you earn this amount of money? Have you got someone to sponsor you? It's also about, where are you from? Because we know that different cultures have different trends, and it's legitimate to say
they're all exactly the same and just as good. Apparently they are just absolutely fine. I mean, it genuinely terrifying. But there we are.